Welcome, friends. I'm Kate. This is Yoga for Fascia, and we're going to work on the front of the body fascia trains. So that's going to involve some back bends, a whole lot of back bends. So if that is a concern for you, then this might not be the best video for you. Although that being said, if you're careful and you're paying attention, you're listening to your body, then proceed with caution. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just a few poses, and we're going to be in those poses for a bit. We'll do some counter poses and some prep posing. And there you have it. So let's get started with a little warming up. So I want to warm up the spine a little bit with some cat and cow. You can do this seated or standing, or even if you were on your back, you could do some pelvic tilts and apanasana. So let's start with some cat and cow. All right, so we're going to exhale cat, dip the chin, tuck the tailbone, round the spine. We're going to inhale, reverse that curve of the spine, looking up towards the ceiling, just as far as is comfortable. Exhale back. Inhale forward. And if you're stiff and sore starting out, if you want to pause and do a little bit more of this, you're welcome to do that, or any other movement that you want to do before we start some of these more in-depth poses. So the first one we're going to do is, let's do camel pose first. So this is a more advanced pose. If you haven't done it before, I'll walk you through some options for it. So we're going to come to hands and knees. And I'm going to use 2 blocks. You may not need blocks at all, or you might just stay up a little bit higher. So what I like to do is bring a block on each side of my ankle, on the outside of each ankle. And we're gonna work it back slowly. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the pelvis forward and then relax back to neutral. Let's do that 2 more times. Bring it forward and reverse back to neutral. And last time, just bring it forward and relax back to neutral. Excellent. All right, so we're going to go one side at a time. So I'm going to bring one hand down to the block. The other arm's just kind of out in space here. And then we'll do the other side. Bring that hand back to the block. And the other thing we want to do is open up the shoulders. That's going to get us into the area that we're looking at, which is from the knee maybe to about the top of the pelvis, as far as those moving the fascial line, sorry. All right, let's do each side again. Excellent. And one more time. And as you go back, looking up is going to help with that movement. And then back to neutral. Nice. And then we can go a little deeper if you want. You can stay with the blocks. That's totally fine. Or we can go to the heels. So bring one hand back to the heel. And then come back up. And then we'll go to the other side. And you might find that one side is easier to reach than the other. Kind of get into asymmetrical patterns. Let's do each side again. And again, looking up towards the ceiling. If you find yourself getting dizzy, come forward and come into a child's pose. That'll be our counter pose. And one more time like this. One side. And then the other. Nice. And then back to center. And then the apex of this pose is both hands on the heels. So we'll see if we can get there today. So we're going to bring one hand back. And then we'll do the other hand. A little far away today. And then come back up. And I'm going to try the other side first. Yeah, not quite there. All right. And one more time. There we go. Nice. And then coming back up, we're going to come into our child's pose as our counter pose. So you can bring the toes together, knees are wide. And we're going to come down to either child's pose or puppy pose. If the hips don't allow for that deeper child's pose, you can stay up in puppy pose. And just take a couple breaths here and release. So we're going to come back up when you're ready. Bring the knees back to hip width distance apart. And then we can do one more here. So we're going to bring the one arm up as the other arm comes down to the heel. And then come back, and then we'll do the other side. Excellent. And then we can come back to that child's pose. Nice. All right, so let's come into our bridge pose. So we've got a couple of options with this. We're going to come into it and we're going to stay in it for a couple breaths. So I have a bolster and I have blocks, and I'm going to recommend one or the other for you. If you don't have either, you can come into it without a prop, but I want this to be a relaxing pose. So we have two kind of movements here. So let's come down to the back. And we'll start with a pelvic tilt. So we're going to tilt the pelvis back and forth. And then we'll do Apanasana as our counter pose. Okay, so we got that. Now, options are to come up into bridge and put a block under the pelvis, or to come up even further and resting on a bolster. So I'm going to go with a bolster today. And you can also do this without rolling up on a towel or a pillow or something like that. So what was I saying? All right, so we're talking about two types of movements, passive and active. So this is going to be a passive stretch of this fascia line on the front of the body. So we're just going to be here for a couple breaths, and you can extend the legs out if you like, or keep them knees bent, feet on the mat. See how that feels. And like I said, just a couple of breaths here. And you're also welcome to pause the video and stay in this position for longer. I want to keep the video sort of short so that you have time to do more fun stuff today. Excellent. And let's take two more breaths. Nice and long, steady and smooth. Excellent. All right, so to come out, if your legs are not bent and feet in the mat already, let's bring them up and maybe bring the heels in a little closer. On the inhale, we're going to lift the hips up and then slide anything out that's under us. And then we're going to come down very, very slow. Take your time, one vertebrae at a time, nice and slow. And then for our counter pose, we're going to come into Apanasana. So a couple of different ways to do that. Hands on the knees. We're going to exhale, knees in, inhale, knees out. If the arms are tired, we can just slide the hands on the front of the thighs. Exhale, knees come in, inhale, knees release out. So we were in that position for a little bit, so let's do a decent amount of these for that counter pose. And then we have one more pose that we're going to do for sure, and one super ambitious pose if you're up for it. So let's come over onto the belly, and we're going to do our bow pose. All right, so I should turn this the other way, but we're just going to deal with it today. All right, so we're on the belly. Legs can come down to the floor. You can bring the head, rest it on the stacked hands. This is what I call alligator pose. You might have heard it as crocodile pose. And let's do a little prep for this. So we're going to bend one knee, bring that heel towards the head, and extend. We'll do the other side. And this isn't great to do if you just ate. But if you want to practice, just bring the legs. So we're going to be stretching those quads, the top of the thighs. All right, so that's our leg prep a little bit. And then for the arms, we're going to extend back and we're kind of lifting the chest up a little bit. And then relax. We'll do that again. And relax. And one more time. So there's a little bit of core work involved here. So let's do one side at a time. Bend one knee, foot comes towards the head, grab it with that hand. And then we'll do the other side. And again, you might find one side is much easier than the other. Again, asymmetrical habits. Or if you have a super dominant hand, that might affect it. All right, finish up with that second side. And then we're going to go for the full pose. So if you can, grab both feet. And this is kind of A level, head towards the floor. Everything's flat down. Next level up is pushing the feet into the hands. And the knees come up and the chest comes up. Take a couple breaths here. And then release. It's hard to talk through that one. And then come back to that alligator or crocodile pose. Beautiful. Let's do that one more time. Any version you like, one hand at a time. Part way up or all the way up. And then release. Back to alligator or crocodile. Excellent. All right, we're going to come up to hands and knees. And we're going to do our cat and cow. And then we have the option of one more pose before our relaxation pose. So we just want to counter that a little bit. Nice. All right, so I'm going to grab my chair. Go big or go home. And you may have seen my chair before and wondered why it doesn't have a back on it. And I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to show you the most advanced one, and then we can work back down from there. If this one isn't in your practice, that's fine. You can use, you can just do it seated. So we're just going to do a back bend. You can do the bridge pose again, or a different version where the shoulders are on the bolster and the rest of the body's down. So kind of wherever it feels good in your body to do this. All right, so here we go. Haven't done this in a while, so we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm going to come and sit backwards in the chair. This is why we don't have anything in here, because there's more room. All right, so back bend here. And this is also prep for wheel pose if you want. So I'm going to hold on here for the moment. You can bring your arms that don't reach towards the floor. Nice passive stretch, and then Coming back up, sort of ungracefully, but that's all right. And then let's do it again. Finding that sweet spot on the back where the edge of the seat isn't too sharp, or you can put a blanket or a towel there. And then if your arms want to reach over, you're welcome to do that. Or when you're ready, coming up, a little core strength there. All right, so coming out, that's option X for the most extreme. The other thing we can do is lifting the sternum up towards the sky. Head comes back. And again, if this is something that makes you dizzy, obviously keep the head more towards the horizon. And to come out of it, forward fold and release. Nice. And then you can do it on the bolster or on the block. So let's come all the way back down to the floor, or you can stay in your chair for relaxation pose. Actually, so this is what I'm going to do since I have this handy. I'm going to bring my legs up on the chair for my relaxation pose. You're welcome to do a bolster or just be flat or bend the knees and feet come into the mat. So we're going to do a quick one and just allowing the body to reset and relax, feeling grounded into the earth. Letting the breath lengthen and smooth out and soften. We'll take the next few moments and just be. You're welcome to stay in your relaxation pose as long as you need. But when you're ready, we're going to come back into awareness. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. If you'd like, you can roll your head side to side. And then we're going to do 2 movements before we roll over. So we're going to start with windshield wipers or anything else that your body is telling you that you need. So feet are wide, and we're just going to go side to side with the knees. If that's uncomfortable, then find another movement that feels right. And then our second one, we'll release that. We're just going to do a quick Apanasana. And again, 2 versions, 2 options. There's many versions, but you can do the hands in front of the thighs or the hands on the knees. You do one knee at a time. That's an option. Excellent. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll over. So I've got everything in my way right here. We're going to roll over onto our right or left side, using that lower arm to rest the head. And let's take a breath or 2 here. And then when you're ready, pushing up to a comfortable seated position. And let's do hands, let's do a breath of joy. And then we will be done for today. So that looks like this. Hands together, or hands on top of each other, on top of the heart. We're going to inhale, hands come down, arms come all the way around, fingertips touch. Exhale, arms come all the way back around, hands to heart. We're going to do that 3 times. Ready? Here we go. Inhale. Fingertips touch. Exhale. Arms come all the way back around. Hands to heart. And again, inhale, hands down. Arms up. Fingertips touch. Exhale. All the way back around. Hands to heart. And last time. Inhale. Fingertips touch. Exhale. Hands come all the way back around. Hands to heart. Bring the palms together. And namaste. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next week for osteoporosis on Monday, GI yoga on Wednesday, and more fascia on Friday. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.